Now, they were supposed to, which is by rule of law and principle, this is where you see that subsection 95, subsection A, 2A, and B, where the debt is, and all of the instruments that they send as bills are supposed to be paid by the United States company owners because it's their debt.
Their debt, right.
So all of the bills that people have been getting are actually statements on the account.
Correct.
Right.
And not really bills.
Right, not bills at all.
Now, what it's supposed to be, they're not supposed to send it to you.
Right.
They're supposed to send it to them. They've been sending it to you, double dipping.
Right.
This is where the argument of accepted for value has its origin.
Okay, right.
Are we clear?
Exactly.
Are we clear? Now, by right law, that's supposed to be a process without you having to jump through hoops.
Right, it's go through all.
They're supposed to give you a voucher.
Right, right.
Yeah. So when you see these things accepted for value, financial statements, and now trying to authenticate the birth, all of them are dealing with the Seeders Trust.
Right.
All right? Controlled by the Jesuits.
Jesuits, right.
Point. In order to be holder in due course, you must be in your possession, in physicality,
Right.
the original instruments with wedding signatures unaltered, not modified.
Right.
Outside that, you're not holder in due course.
Right. Whoever has that paper.
All right, so you already know they ain't going to give you no damn certificate about nothing.
Exactly.
So anybody with common sense knows that you can authenticate that birth certificate, and all you did was authorize it. Now you can't have a future suit on fraud
Exactly.
because you authorized it,
Right.
thinking you're going to get a benefit.
Right.
So now you're part of the fraud. That's them off the hook. But the process sounds like you really going to get all these jewels and these candies and, you know, you ain't getting shit. No, really what it is. You know, this is why even though I examine the system, you don't see me pumping UCCs. Or even though it's tempting. Because what they've done, they put everybody's life on the market in a commercial venue.
Right.
In other words, everything is in commerce.
Right. Even if you have your own
But
business.
understand that platform is a fraud platform. It's not a legitimate platform.
Right, right.
It's an arbitrary platform. But yet, the attraction is people are seeking to restore their unalienable rights on a commercial platform. But then you got to file some papers and make agreements, put your signature there. You cannot claim an unalienable right on an alienable platform.
Right.
It's a contradiction.
Right.
But because you know about the fraud, they can now hold you to it
Accountable
because you're not ignorant.
of the law.
Now you just justified their position. So it all looks all beautiful, but they've got a whole bunch of millions of other people that just have relieved more of their debt.
Right.
And in the future, they can't sue for reparations.
Right. Exactly. Because they're part of the fraud.
No, if you seek 1 penny of benefit in a fraud rather than refute it, you cannot now call that platform fraudulent. You can't. Somebody else can.
Somebody else can. You can't.
If you saw the benefit and they got your signature anywhere or any evidence that you sought to participate in that, and they made an offer and you bought into it, they don't have to deliver shit, and you got no future suit for reparations. And I'm keeping this very simple and close out.
Can it be reversed?
Unalienable rights are akin to birthrights.
Right.
Governments are in place to secure unalienable rights. They have no rights to give, nor to regulate. They have only obligations and duties. Outside of that, they have no right of existence whatsoever. And when that line is breached by government, it is to be dissolved. Are we clear? However, if you assign them again, meaning apply for them again, you have assigned them on an individual basis on what is called oratory or written trust. At that time, you just assign them as your trustee. And this is what they've been doing, getting you to contract with them, thinking you're getting out of the contract, and then taking your unalienable rights, offering it to them on a commercial venue, and you ain't getting no damn unalienable rights because they don't have them to give. They use whatever you give them as another means to go right back in that Sister QB trust, because they ain't going to show you them instruments, because they got signatures that are longer than the instruments themselves. They don't have room. They have to put what you call them allonges. When you do, yes, when you do research, them instruments have allonges on them. A birth certificate will end up having allonges attached to them that literally make books. And they are bank bonds. So is their marriage certificates. Now that's the truth. So when you hear me talking about them things, I talk about them because I know how things operate. Right. I ain't jumping in that pool. I can swim too. I ain't jumping in that shit. Really, and this is really what, if you really understand this thing, if you have more than two eyes, and you look at the Clearfield Doctrine, you look past all that surface stuff. That's what it's really all about. It is this simple. Any member of a political body, of banker trustees, and assigned administrators over local trust regencies, regulated by archbishops of the different regional territories, under the Pope of Rome and the Spanish Inquisition and the doctrine of discovery, which they exercise in the courts to this very day, are the regulators of the commercial codes for human trafficking, including eating the babies. And these people keep going to them, say, I'm going to file my UCC and get my peanut butter sandwiches. Keep messing with them. Clearfield Doctrine. We ain't got to go through all that hoop. Y'all assholes ain't governing. You have no sovereign power whatsoever. It ain't an issue whether there's gold or silver coins. All those instruments you pass around is private commercial paper, which is why you can tax these people. Because it's your shit. It ain't even theirs. Right. And they keep on agreeing by making application. And in doing so, they just call them sovereign. And so the contract becomes the law. Right. Then they tell you, you got a lot of contracts. No, you don't. You didn't create that stuff. That ain't your contract. Those are linear instruments created by them, having nothing to do with you. And then they create a Cedars Trust you have no access to, with a name that sounds like it's yours, and then get you arguing about whether or not it's you. It's like you just go to Michael Jackson's song, he said, oh man, I like that. I'm going to put a copyright on that. Go ahead, try it. Not that they ain't going to take your fiat, but in the argument, you ain't winning. At what point we don't get this, those are copyrighted instruments for the United States Service Corporation. Their whole military complex operates on that. You think you're getting your hands on it? I don't think so. I don't care what they tell you. I say this, and this is why I always tell people to set up a trust. Even if you don't totally understand it, what you must do, and the only way you're going to beat this beast is by starving them. There's no other way. You will not get in the swimming pool with the alligators and talk about swimming. It just doesn't work that way. You will come out with less weight.
If alive.
And my ass is going, no, it ain't Jenny Craig. You know the alligator teeth? We don't get it. We're so naive that this man does the same thing, or he don't even change the game. He just changes the name. 35 years ago, HMOs. Then site grass through the transportation departments. Then UCCs. Then financial one statements. Now birth certificate. All of them trying to get into the Cedars Trust. Count on one hand how many people that you know that have achieved the processes and got their hand on that Cedars. Even that European sister that just recently they locked her up.
Heather Tucci.
She went through all the process, perfected it. Oh, she had this thing smooth. She's European too, so she got it light, right? They had her in the ecclesiastical court with doors closed and no one allowed. That's the highest court operating on the planet. Ecclesiastical court. If it wasn't for people that was clamoring, people awake, they would have disappeared her. I repeat, if it were not for conscious people making so much noise around the planet, they would have disappeared her. Did she do anything wrong? No. She did the process perfectly like they said it was supposed to be. Remember, these are their preforms. Nobody makes these UCC forms. They make them preforms, present them to people.
That's the affidavit.
They consider this, and I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go. If I have a beachfront property, and I say, y'all, I'm thanking y'all for coming down to the house of Red Wakeman Mines. I got a beachfront property, and y'all and all invited to come swim, in the beachfront and all that stuff, on both sides and stuff like that. Make sure you bring a bucket of water though. It's like somebody with a peanut farm talking about, come visit me, but make sure you bring peanut butter sandwiches to get through the gate. You don't want to see no more peanuts. Anybody that has successfully accessed the Sister QV Trust does not need fiat.
Exactly.
They don't need the. I don't need that. All I need is my signature. Well, it is discharged. It never happens, does it?
Nope.
But they always need a couple hundred. Take this process. Give me a. What do you need this for?
Exactly.
That's like Scott's paper company asking you for a roll of toilet paper. They don't want to stick it. Bologna company executive asking you for a bologna sandwich for lunch. It ain't happening. But now, I am not dismissing it because that's how things operate. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm talking about we must start rejecting Rome and rendering unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And stop eating into the temptation, well, here, I didn't give it to them, but I'm giving you the apple to bite. Name Europeans. Now, I've been all over this country, radio stations, etc. I ran into a lot of people that's been doing UCCs one way or another. And I'm not saying that any house will work. That's the card game they give you, because that's what they set up. But I am saying they never honor it. They dance you around for 2-3 years, and as soon as you get to a point of going through the gate, they say, "Oh, you forgot to file this other form with the IRS." And the other guy, if I tell you this, and then they dancing you through. Meanwhile, 3 or 4 years, they can soak you up, taking your shit here and there. And you done gave thousands of energy to someone who's the middleman to sell you the process. Who, if he completed the process and he sold it to you, he shouldn't need your fiat. Matter of fact, he'd be so busy on vacation and stuff, he just want to tell you what's up for just good measure. But they never do that. Name 5 people that you know that successfully complete the process. And when there's millions that have done it, past and present. Name 5. Name 5. No, name 2.
Never heard of steam.
The closest you got is that sister that they just locked up. That European sister, and they tried to disappear her. So I'm just saying that to say this. I'm just saying this to say this. What we need to do is start rebutting and rejecting Rome and rejecting their processes. Because number one, while it looks all beautiful, they never honor it. Because they are totally dishonorable. Because the United States Service Corporation was set up for the specific purpose of undermining the Republic. What point these people don't get it? The platform itself is corrupt. From the top to the bottom. This is why the Manchurians are dumping the T-bond. They ain't filed no UCCs. Did you see Zuckerberg and his cousins when they was going IPO going to file some UCCs? Or did they go to Switzerland and nationalize? I'm going to repeat. Zuckerberg, Facebook.
Yeah.
A couple years ago when they went IPO. Did they go and file some UCCs, financial statements, or did they go to Switzerland and nationalize? And IRS gave their shit back.
Right, and everything back.
But what makes our people think that they're special? And why are these issues not promoted amongst our people? Go look this up, everybody, and we're going to close out. It's misnomered in this dispensation, but this is what it is. Wealthy white Americans reject 14th Amendment citizenship, reject their U.S. citizenship, and nationalize in other countries. Now, this is what they've been doing. This is why they did House Joint Resolution, I think it's 2748, something like that. And this is under the guise of employment. And this is where they're going to all them countries and taking all their accounts, seizing all their finances. And ultimately, what Trump is doing right now, he's enforcing all emergency executive orders, seizing all accounts, freezing all accounts. He ain't filing new UCCs. He's cutting them off at the legs. Because if they don't, everything collapses.
Exactly.
And you know why else? Because people all over this country and outside this country have been nationalized and they've been putting them papers out. They don't even know them all perfected. But guess what it does? It kills them bonds. It doesn't matter how many safes they got them in. You can't capture it, you gotta kill it.
That's why I like,
Go ahead.
he did it to me, man. I'm sorry, my bad. But, just say briefly. That's why I like,
if 2 years ago, let's say you wanted to work at what they call a hospital or work in medical, a lot of things that you got prerequisite was taken care of for whom you were going to work for. And in experience, I have a very close family member in the medical field, and now you have to quote unquote transact for everything out of your own energy, whether it's so-called physical, PPD, whatever it is you want to do, if you're like CNA, GNA. So that's like one of those clues that these people don't have what they've had because, the gold standard is coming back. Us nationalizing is what I'm saying. Us, being national. Us, declaring and proclaiming our nationality. The spin of that is these companies are unable to fund things that they could in the past. So now they're looking for you to do it. But ultimately what's being said really is stop coming to us, stop using us, just finally declare and proclaim your nationality. Like that's what even Trump is saying in that recent executive order that the mother shared with, and that's just kind of what I just wanted to share. These people can't even support their own BS anymore.
Yes, their platforms are turning in on them.
yes.
All right, so let's be blunt. Let's be blunt and we'll walk out. The demo platform that they set up in 1861, the principle of Roman fiat operations for unum sanctum enforcement, and they do it over and over again in different forms as long as the people believe them, has a general cycle of 30 years. That the one they did, that Nixon did in 71, lived to this point is amazing. They got all of their dark priests together to keep this thing pushed, but they pushed it to the end. And what they've done, they've pledged the lives of the last couple of generations. So they plan to kill off a lot of people because those are bonds that can never compensate for.
Right.
So the wars are not just the military operations the way people think. They literally have pledged the lives of people. For real.
Yeah.
So they gotta.
You know what I mean? And so this is why they ignore 95A. But this is also why I did the reversion of article. Calling them on it. And I tell people to use reversion and interject that in all of your dispensations with them, even if you're still on a learning curve. Because what it does, it kills the bond. It kills the capacity for them to move a bond See, because you got to remember, governments know that the jurisdictional lines that the masses think exist don't really exist.
Right, right.
Are we clear? The passports that's forced on them is not used by those or the oligarchy. Are we clear?
No.
The jurisdictional lines of the regency under regency operations in actual government functions is known by all politicians, but is not known by the masses.
Right.
The fiat, the masses are convinced that the fiat is money, while those who operate it know it isn't. Me and Dr. Naila was talking earlier about things that's taking place here in this territory, Wilmington, with a certain operative body, politics, buying up all the property in here, and even getting rid of some people that was in the political platform of Asiatic origin for this last election they had. And we were discussing, I was reminding her what we have to remember is when Europeans are on their yachts, lighting cigars with 100 notes and stuff like that, and people say, man, he's really wealthy because he's lighting cigars with $100 bills and stuff, you understand? And he's picking up the dog duty when he's walking his dog in the park with 100 notes and throwing it in the trash and stuff. And the real deal, because he knows it's private commercial paper. It's not money.
Right.
It is only money for the dumb masses. They're giving it freely for unum sanctum operations. As an example, our concept on how you have to work for the commercial paper that you get, which is not money, commercial paper.
Right.
It has no value unless you transfer it through a bank system, because it's really private. Therefore, they can measure your energy input and output, which you see in Executive Order 11490. It's energy military operations. It's bookkeeping. It's bookkeeping. Now, but the masses have to be continued in the smokescreen that they have monetary value. So now when the masses start waking up to this, they start arguing, well, see, there ain't no gold or silver coin because Article 1, Section 10 says the state can't coin anything but silver or gold coin for money and stuff like that. And see, in 1933, they took all the gold, all the money. Oh, it's BS, that's a diversion. It's the estate and the global estate trust that the corporate entities are operating on as secondary agents for the local who answer to the county, that answer to the state, that answer to the United States Service Corporation in Puerto Rico, that answer to Westminster, England, that answer to the Jesuit Opus Dei and the Pope. That's the operations. And if you don't get that through your head, that you think you're interjecting yourself in that line of hierarchy, getting your hand on any damn Cedars Trust, you're out to damn lunch. Because they will not let the domino effect take place. So the best thing, and then this is what I say, why be greedy? Why be selfish? The generations that have suffered before us and the children who are suffering after us, while we keep on BSing, why don't we stop being selfish? You understand? Eat some oodles and noodles. You understand? Stop. Drop the ego. Kill the bond. Stop every time he offers you something. Well, this process, you finally going to get your hand. You ain't getting shit. Get over yourself. Teach someone who doesn't know. Starve the dragon. You're not going to beat him because he is a war machine. Not he got war machines. He is a war machine. Now, point is, Manchurians know that we're out to lunch because we've been trained in belief systems so long that we don't even know how to deal with intelligence. Because we keep interjecting our beliefs onto that platform and it just messes up. We start really good arguments, just like Dred Scott, that introduced that Negro and black stuff, and the rest of the arguments already did. Plaintiff in error, and this continues with us. So it is known, so fire across the bow. 3 years ago, the Manchurians wrote a scathing report against the United States Service Corporation on how they were treating us. Then they start dumping them bonds. Then the Europeans start eating their tail. That means they had to start printing new derivatives to deal with the bonds that were being turned in, right? Because remember, governments don't deal with the dollars, what they call it, the petrodollar thing. They deal with pristine bonds, treasury bonds.
Right.
So you deal with instruments that have millions and billions on instruments. They were just honoring all them. So what make you think they were honoring UCCs? You know, this including them dropping them buildings in New York because they stole Germany's gold to try to give them longer legs, which means they was dead. Again, Germany, number one ally, Germany and France. They stole Germany's gold and then blew them buildings up and then sent Muslims in with a box cutter. And how many people in the world bought that argument and still follow behind that BS? The world is tired of them. So the Manchurians put out of a pool of over 20 million, roughly around 6.5 perfected assassins spread out on the world to counter European colonial operations. Negro leaders still marching around talking about black jobs and all that kind of stupid crap, keeping people busy and dead. And the Manchurians start dropping bodies. Now, then also the Russians. Also, because Russians, remember what they did to the families when they stole the Russian gold? So you got to know the history. They've been running on Russian gold too. See, and then the Manchurians setting up the Silk Road. Do you see any of them talking UCCs? Authenticating some damn birth certificate? What is created in a fraud remains a fraud. You cannot enter a fraud platform and make it de jure. It ain't going to happen. However, you start the dragon. How do you start a dragon? Turn your hearts back to the principles of your ancient mothers and fathers. We got to go. We're getting ready to throw it out. Anyway, Clearfield doctrine, y'all. Clearfield. Clearfield. And we'll get into that in more detail again in the future. All right? And that's on your flash drive.